Welcome back to another midweek Modern Craftsman. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to be here. How many of you guys and girls have ever struggled with anxiety or stress? If you have not, first off, I am green with envy. And second off, you are most likely not human. As you all more than likely know by now, I have struggled my fair share with these feelings. And I want to take time in this podcast today to explore some of the strategies that I use for coping and managing with stress and anxiety, not only in my business, but also in my personal life. Some of those things are finding hobbies that challenge and excite you, to incorporating consistent exercise into your daily routine. These type of things help create balance and build resilience within your lifestyle. I also want to dig into the importance of establishing predictable routines to help reduce the chaos in your life, and how important it is to carve out guilt-free time for self-care, healthy self-care. These techniques and strategies have transformed how I handle life's demands, business demands, demands within my personal life, and I hope that they inspire you to prioritize your well-being. Let's dive into some steps that you can take to help thrive in both work and in life. So, as the year comes to a close, many of us begin to feel the pressure to wrap up projects, start analyzing our year-end numbers, and prepare for the upcoming year. How are we gonna start the year off on the right foot? And for me, this time of year typically has been synonymous with one thing, and that one thing would be stress. Probably more accurately, two things: stress and anxiety. I'm closing jobs out. I'm looking to hit schedule. I'm beginning to analyze my finances over the year to understand what I want to do from a tax perspective. We're going to have some time off, obviously spending a lot of money around the holidays. So I begin to stress, and that stress typically carries through until after the new year. And I get back to work and I start putting some of the ideas and the foundation in place for the next year. So as I wind down the year, typically my anxiety and my stress levels raise, and they will not subside until I get back to work and I start picking up my normal routine. And that's made a lot of life and a lot of what should be really quality, valuable downtime with my family and my friends unable to be enjoyed by me, right? It just creates angst for me. And it's a time of year where you should be valuing all the downtime, right? You've worked so hard to earn this. And instead of being able to sit back and appreciate it, I just end up twiddling my thumbs and becoming more and more anxious and not being able to sit still, and really just creating angst in my life. And I struggle to just deal with any sort of idle time. So over the past couple of years, I've become more and more aware of this. So I've tried to put things in place to deal with it better. By no means an expert on this. It is a work in progress. I am a work in progress, but I am better now than I have ever been. And I feel that I've made large strides in getting there. So I want to take time on this podcast to discuss what I've been doing to really quell that anxiety and quell that stress and be able to enjoy my downtime and be present with my family and not focus so much on work and my clients. So the first thing that has been a game changer for me in my life has been adopting a hobby. So right around COVID, I had rode motorcycles for a while, and then we had kids, and I couldn't do that anymore. And so after COVID, I decided that I wanted to start riding motorcycles again. I figured it was safer to start riding off-road, more dual sport type of stuff. I realized that I really enjoyed actually riding trail. So I began to ride off-road dirt bikes. I became pretty obsessed with that. And that has become a huge passion of mine. So I've started riding more, training more, racing more. And it is the type of hobby that there are no limits how far I can take myself, right? I could spend every waking hour of every day looking to hone my craft or get better or improve myself, improve my skill set, and never quite get there. So not only when you are looking for a hobby, right, there are certain hobbies that will fill that need for people, but I think that for personality types like us, right, where you're extremely driven, you're focused, you have that entrepreneurial mindset, you will always have to get to the bottom of everything. You have to know why you want to get better. um to me, it's like I can't just knit, I can't just read a book, right, I can't play board games. I need something that not only stimulates me, but it puts me in a flow state where I cannot engage in anything else. And I also need something that's extremely challenging, both um, from a physical perspective as well as a mental perspective. So dirt biking checks all the boxes for me. It stimulates me, it challenges me, it's difficult both physically and mentally. There's a huge adrenaline rush with it. To me, it puts me in a flow state where, regardless of how I'm feeling or what I'm doing or what distractions I have in my life, what problems I have in my life, when I am riding or racing my dirt bike, there's nothing else on my mind. It's the only place that I don't reach for my phone, that I don't look to answer emails, that I don't look for text messages, that I don't look on Instagram, Facebook. I am just in my own little world. So I would suggest, if there's a hobby that you can find that's similar to that, where it pulls you outside of work. And the big thing for me here is, for years, I devoted myself to my business, but even more so my clients. I based my self worth, I based my identity, and I based my happiness on the experience that my clients had. Made for a really great business. I built a great customer base. I had all the work that I needed, but I had nothing for me. My family didn't see me. I was not present. I was not engaged. And I really had no other hobbies. Work was my hobby. When I came home from work, I wanted to work more. I wanted to look up tools for work. I wanted to look up systems for work. I wanted to look up how to sell more work, how to build more relationships. That was how I measured my self-worth, and that was what made me tick. So when work went badly, right? Because when everything's good and work's going great, no problem. But when something went wrong, or when work went badly, or when a client was not happy, I could not separate myself from that. I could not detach from that. And it would affect every ounce of my being, which would rub off onto anyone around me, my friends, my family, my children, my pets. And it was really hard to detach. So finding a hobby that, I don't want to say distracts me, but creates that need inside me to better myself or to grow, almost that I can't help but spend more time honing that passion, that craft, is really important. Because when something doesn't go well at work, rather than dwell about it for the next 12 hours until I can get back on the job, I have something else to occupy my mind. I have something else to help me detach, and then I can be present with my family. I can be present with myself, and I don't have to sit there. And my mom always said this, and it's wildly inappropriate thinking about it now, but I don't have to mentally masturbate about what I screwed up. And I think that a lot of our personality types probably do that, right? We make a mistake, something doesn't go right, and we can't detach, and we just sit there and we ruminate about that problem over and over and over. I now have something in my life that I don't have to do that. Um, it pulls me away from that. It makes me realize that there's other things in my life, that just because something isn't going right, or just because a relationship is not flourishing, or a project is off the rails, or I made a mistake, that that's not life. That's not what's really important. I figure out how to move forward, but also that I don't have to lose sleep because of that. I don't have to torture myself because of that. I don't have to ruminate about that problem every single waking hour of every day until I sort it out. So for me, the hobby is more so just, it's more than just a hobby. It is a way to get outside of my work self. It is a way to detach, and it is a way to remain physically and mentally healthy. Another huge thing for me is making consistent time for exercise. Nobody exercises because it's easy. I certainly don't. And even with time, exercise does not necessarily feel as though it gets easier because you progress, you get stronger, you continue to push the bounds, and it is always hard. Um, there's not that many days where I'm like, hey, you know what? I got done work. There's a million things to do. I can't wait to throw my running shoes on and go run 4 or 5 miles. There's some days where I'm not opposed to it, but then there's other days where it's just the last thing I want to do. But there has never been a time where I've actually gone out and exercised and taken care of my body and worked out that I've regretted doing it. Never. I've always, either once I get going or after, felt better about myself, felt productive, changed my mindset, and never once have I regretted that. It's also really important to exercise because chemically you release endorphins when you exercise, um, which will alter your mood. They will make you feel better. You will feel more lively. You will be more focused. You will feel less tired, even though you're doing something that is making you feel tired. Um, but rather than get into a biology discussion, to me, it just makes me feel productive, right? If I have a day in the office and I didn't get any physical work done, and I'm not tired at night, and I'm laying in bed, I feel very anxious. There's a lot running through my mind. I don't feel as though I got everything done that day. Sometimes I just feel like a loser, like I didn't do anything today. And getting out and exercising, whether it is for 15 minutes, whether I go run 2 miles, whether I run 7 miles, um, it's hard, it's difficult, it's tiring, but I always feel better for it. I feel productive. I feel as though I did something, that I wasn't a lazy piece of shit that day. And, maybe this is unrelatable to all of you, and I'm very hard on myself. I always have been. I hear it from my parents. I hear it from my siblings. I hear it from old coaches. I've never been okay with good enough. Whatever goal I set, whatever goal I reach, I tell myself, oh, once I get to that point, it'll be good. But then once I get to that point, it's not good anymore and I need more, which is probably the addict in me speaking. But just feeling as though you accomplish your goals and feeling as though you get outside and you get fresh air and you exercise and you're tired. Um, Again, you can reach somewhat of that flow state. You can listen to music, you can listen to podcasts, you can just zone out and not have to answer to anyone for 15, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever it may be, is really, really good for you. It does help me with stress. It helps me with anxiety. It helps me burn some energy where I can tell I'm just sitting at the desk shaking my leg. It helps me sleep better at night, and sleep is critical to reducing anxiety, to reducing stress. And I've found that the more consistent I am with exercise, the easier it is to be consistent. And you want to say, yeah, duh, sure. But what I mean is if I exercise every day in a row, I want to keep up the streak. I feel good. It's not a big deal to go exercise. If I take a day off, getting out the next day is a little harder. If I take 2 days off, it's even more harder, even more hard. If I take 3, 4 days off, it's like, I'm not getting out there. At this point, it's too late. Why even bother? So being consistent with it, giving yourself some grace where it's like, hey, I'm really tired today, but I should go out and exercise. Okay, well, go do something for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. Maybe once you get out there, you'll be like, you know what? I can keep going for 20 minutes. I can go 30 minutes, but just take the first step, get out there. It's really hard. I dropped Selby off last night at volleyball, and I brought my running shoes and I went and I started running the track at the high school where she was practicing. And I'm at this point 38. The lights are on at the fields. It's the middle of school season, nobody's off on break. And there were 3 people out there working out. 2 were in high school and one was maybe Could have still been in high school, most college. So there were 4 people out on the track working out. And that's not to say that people aren't working out in the morning, people aren't working out elsewhere at night, but it's a pretty big town. It's a pretty big school. And to think that there's 4 people out there putting in a little bit of extra work made me realize that, like, yeah, this is hard. People don't want to do this. I don't want to be doing this right now. I'd rather be sitting inside watching Selby or sitting in my truck with the heat on, but it's the right thing to do. I know that it helps me. I know it makes me feel better. I know I check the box. I check the boxes of meeting and surpassing goals, and I just have a sense of accomplishment. Um, I just feel as though I'm being productive. I'm not being a loser. I'm not being lazy, and I'm strengthening myself. I'm strengthening myself physically and mentally. So if you have the ability or the capacity to get out and exercise, even if it's for 10 minutes a day, go do it. Go take a walk, get some fresh air, get moving, get the blood flowing. And I know, like, for years I said, well, I work all day, it's exercise. It is. You're burning calories. I kept weight off for a really long time, but it's not the same type of exercise. So again, if it's just getting out and clearing your mind and taking a 10 or 15-minute walk, try and be consistent with that. Try and do that every day, and try and gain a little bit of peace and perspective in your life. Another thing that I have found extremely helpful in dealing with stress and anxiety is to create and maintain some sort of routine in your life. And you'll hear people say, and I've heard people say it forever, that routine and consistency actually creates freedom. And you think, like, how's that possible? How does having a routine and having a schedule that you have to adhere to create any sort of freedom? And I think that I truly realized what that means by having children, right? Where your kids, I'll move my camera a little, your kids will thrive on having a schedule and thrive on having routine. If, okay, let's make an example. My kids don't have to come home. When they come home from school, at that point until they go to bed, it's free for all. They can do whatever they want. If that's the case, they don't get their homework done. Right? They can make whatever they want as far as a snack, and they don't really have any sort of bedtime. So the issues that creates are, one, we get ready for going to bed, and I have to sit down with them and I have to do their homework, and it's late and I'm stressed and I have other stuff to do. They ate a snack too late, too close to dinner time. So now they don't want to eat dinner. And then when it's time to go to bed, they realize that they're still hungry. So they're asking me to make them food and clean up more food, and they get upset about it and we get in a fight. 3, at this point, bedtime is delayed. Too late. I'm stressed out. We're up late. They didn't get everything that they need to get done. They start getting upset because they have to wake up early for school. It just creates a mess. There's no freedom. It's absolute chaos. Now, if we say, hey, as soon as you come home from school, shoes are off by the front door, your backpack gets put away, you get a snack, you get your backpack back out, you do your homework, and then you put everything away. Mommy and daddy sign whatever papers you have to. We'll have dinner at this time. And then after that, we'll clean up. You'll get showered. You get in your PJs. And then you have from 7 p.m. until 8:45 p.m. to do whatever you want until it's time to get ready for bed. Then you brush your teeth and you go upstairs and we get to bed. Full transparency, that's not what happens in my house. It's a bit of a blend there, but if Rachel and I had the consistency and the energy to maintain that level of schedule and routine for the kids, we would create a lot of freedom. We would create freedom for ourselves because we know that, hey, the kids need us from this time till this time, and the rest of the time we can do what we have to. We create freedom by saying, hey, I know that I can or can't do this because dinner's going to be on the table by 6, and that affords me enough time to be able to do this, but not enough time to be able to do that. From 6 till 7, I know that the kids can do whatever they want. So that gives us freedom if Rachel wants to go work out. If I want to go work out, they can watch TV, they can decompress, They can go on their iPads, whatever it is, they have an hour of their free time. And then I know that we have to be with them as they get cleaned up and ready for bed. And then once we're in bed, you can read. You get the point. Like, having that structure, having that routine, not only helps the kids understand what sort of time they have, what sort of time they don't have, but it also is the same for us adults, right? Years ago, I spent every free moment after work, after dinner, and even on the weekends chasing leads, pricing jobs for free, and giving away design advice to clients who, quite frankly, never intended to pay me a dime. My idle time went to these potential clients instead of my family, and I wasn't compensated for any of my time. Today, my life is much different. I now capture all my time and billable hours from pre-construction through project closeout. If you are tired of competitively bidding projects, bleeding time, and losing money, check out our pre-construction course on the website. If you don't make back the cost of the course with your first pre-construction contract, we will refund you in full. This is a no-brainer, an investment that will transform your business and your life. If you have any questions, reach out to me, Tyler, at trghomeconcepts.com. Head to the website, www.moderncraftsman.co. There is a course tab. Click that and enroll today. Over the past 2 years, I've spoken with over 65 consulting clients, some in a single session and others through ongoing calls. And my biggest takeaway? As small residential builders, contractors, and remodelers, we collectively struggle with profitability, capturing our time, marketing, and proper lead generation. If you are finding it hard to make ends meet, struggling to earn a living within normal working hours, or facing challenges in generating leads for a sustainable business, let's connect. Reach out to me via email at tyler@trghomeconcepts.com to schedule a consulting call. Invest in your business, invest in yourself, and start the new year with a fresh perspective. Ready to grab the bull by the horns and take back control of your life. If you are ready to make real changes in your business, I am here to help. I have some very exciting news for all of you. The Contractor Coalition Summit is hosting a meetup at IBS and KIBS. So that's going to be Monday, February 24th, 2025. I know we're already into 2025. It's crazy. 6 to 8 p.m. It's at the Nomad at Park MGM, Las Vegas. So this is not a summit. This is not a conference. Honestly, this is just going to be a bunch of people hanging out, open bar, food, and all the drinks that you can enjoy. And you'll have extra because I don't drink, so you can have my drinks. Early bird pricing is live. There will be no tickets at the door. So if you want to go to this, you have to buy them beforehand. I'm posting a link to it on this post. Hop on there now. You're not going to want to miss out on this. Again, no tickets at the door. February 24th, 6 to 8 p.m., Nomad, Las Vegas, which is at the Park MGM. I'll be there. Nick will be there. Brad will be there. Morgan will be there. And a lot of other people. So come check it out. Open bar, food, great hangs, great hanging out. It's really going to be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you there. And let me know if you have any questions. If I have a million things to do and I'm just checking off a to-do list and I don't have any structure or any routine or it's not consistent, then I'm kind of going through the motions. It's the same thing with your project. Like if you don't have a routine for your project and you don't have an order of operations and you're showing up every day and trying to figure out what you need to do, it's chaos. You're not planning in advance. You're making a lot of mistakes. You're redoing a lot of things, and your efficiency is way down because you don't have any freedom there. You don't have a routine. You don't have a system to stick to, and you're just flying by the seat of your pants. So your schedule is screwed up. Your anxiety is probably through the roof. The job is not getting completed to the level that you're able to do so. And if it were the other way around, right, if you had a PM or if you were running the projects and it's like, hey, from 7 till 8, I take phone calls and I take emails. And then I know from 8 until 10:30, I'm making site visits. Then from 10:30 to 11:30, I'm getting to proposals, and then lunch, and then following up with vendors and client leads. So like creating that routine and that schedule will now create the freedom within your business, within your life, to take into account how much time you need to do other things. If you have time for other things, if you need to hire somebody to take some of that off your plate. So these routines create freedom, and they reduce the amount of anxiety in your life, because you can look and you can see that I have time for this, I don't have time for that, what needs to change, how is my time being consumed, this is too overwhelming to me, I can put more on my plate, rather than just say, hey, I have a list of 100 things long that I need to get done over the next 3 days. And I'm like a madman and absolutely mental, just trying to check all of these things off. My stomach's in my throat. There's really no rhyme or reason as to why I'm doing things in any sort of order. And it creates chaos, and it creates stress, and it creates anxiety. So having some sort of routine in your life is ideal. Truth be told, my routine is not dialed. With kids, I've learned that your routine must have some grace. If you have a plan in place, generally it's not going to go exactly according to that plan. So I think it's a balance, right? Just like business, not everything's perfect, not everything's going to go as planned, but at least if you have a game plan, if you have a roadmap, you have some sort of direction and you have some sort of North Star to follow, rather than just flying by the seat of your pants. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that my business is sharp as an arrow, and that, our kids are militant in the way that they adhere to our schedule and our guidelines. But we do try and create some consistency there, and marry and blend that consistency with the amount of time that we have and our ability to implement that routine, because it takes a lot of work. And with kids, it can be very difficult and very exhausting, to be honest. If you guys have kids, you probably know exactly what I'm talking about. The last thing that I have started to do, and I think it overlaps the other things, is to carve some time out for yourself. And this is something that I struggle with for a long time, and I would assume a lot of mothers struggle with a lot, even more so than fathers and men. And it is taking time for yourself, self-care, and how important that is. And I mean, it could be like, when you think self-care, right? I'm going to get like my nails did and my hair did. Like, it could be whatever. I don't care. But if you have some sort of healthy outlet where you can detach from the family, you can detach from work associates, from friends, whatever you need to take time for yourself, you have to do that. My mom always had this sign up in our house growing up, and it said, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And to me, that somewhat encapsulates this, where it's like, if you aren't good, if you're not happy, if you're stressed, nothing else in your life is going to be good. So you have to take the time, and you have to set the time aside for yourself, whatever that is that you need. If it's 15 minutes of just coffee and peace out on the porch every day, find a way to incorporate that into your life. If it is exercise, find a way to incorporate that in your life. If it's taking a day to go ride dirt bikes, then find a way to incorporate that. If it's doing extra for your wife and for the kids leading up to that, if it's making arrangements to get a sitter so that your wife can do what she has to do during those days, if it's, allowing the other partner to do things more consistently, find a way to make that happen. I will be completely honest, I am lucky enough that my wife allows me to do that basically whenever I want. She doesn't hassle me about it. She picks up the slack. She takes care of the girls. She carries our life in order to allow me to take anywhere from a half a day to a day each and every week to go ride my dirt bike. And she and I both understand that that's something that I need from a physical and a mental perspective in order to have the best life that we can. And that's not bullshit. Like if there's a time where I don't ride for a week or 2 weeks go by because of weather and I don't get out, like she will tell me, I need you to go ride your dirt, like leave, just go. And I need to go blow off steam. And she's well aware of that, and we make that work. Mostly she makes that work. I know that she likes to exercise from anywhere from 15 to 45 minutes every day. So if she can't get up early and do that before the kids go to school, I do my best to watch the kids while she's doing that, either before or after dinner, to give her that time that she needs every single day to feel good about herself, to feel productive, um, and to just really have some time for herself and care for herself and detach from everything. And the really, really important thing well, there's two really important things for me here. I cannot speak to, hey, like I'm going to go out and do this because like I'm going to go play cards with my buddies, or we're going to go to the bar, or we're going to go out. Like, to me, that's not the type of self-care that I feel is really going to help you long term. And that's not judging anyone for doing that. And I think that there is a time and a place for that. But I do feel that self-care should be something healthy. Whether it is quiet time, whether it is through meditation, whether it is through exercise, um, whatever it may be, if you're carving time out for yourself, I think that it should be some sort of healthy time, and not just going out and saying, oh, I'm gonna party and this will make it all feel better. I think that there's a time and a place for that, but consistently, week to week, day to day, there should be healthier outlets for you. I also think, and this kind of goes hand in hand with that like these outlets and these techniques should be guilt free. Like, if you're carving out time for yourself, this self-care needs to be guilt free. For my wife to go and say, hey, I want to get my nails done, and then feel guilty about it because she spent X amount of money, because she was away for the kids for that long, because she had other stuff that she had to do for work. Like, the guilt is going to outweigh getting your nails done and feeling good that you cleaned your image up and it just feels good to have your nails done. Like, if I were to ride my dirt bike and there was guilt put on me by my wife or by my kids because I wasn't here for this or I didn't do that, or if I even just put guilt on myself from like, I should really be spending time with my family right now, that's not helping. So the self-care, carving out this time for yourself, has to be guilt-free. Online, in books, by speaking to people, everyone wants to tell you, right, you have this short amount of time to spend with your kids and your family. And I mean, I just saw something yesterday. It's by the time your kids are 12, 75% of your time with them is done. Selby's 11. So I'm like reading this and I'm like, damn, I shouldn't ride every weekend. Like, I should spend a day a week. Like, how many weekends do you have with your kid? And you start analyzing this, and I'm like, this is what I need. This makes me the best father. This makes me the best business owner. This puts me in a great mental state to be a good father for my children, a good husband, a good person every single hour, every single minute, every second of every day. So if I need to take that time and I'm away from my family, but it creates a better experience throughout the rest of our life, then like, how much time we have with our kids is regardless. I know that a lot of mothers who are driven, who want to work, who are entrepreneurial, who have a ton of mom guilt. My wife was one of for going back to work, or not being a stay-at-home mom, not being able to breastfeed your children for longer. And that to me is like detrimental, because there's no right and there's no wrong. Like, if you're taking care of everyone that you need to, including yourself, and you're doing your best to balance all of that, that's all that we can do. There's not a script for this. It's not one size fits all. and people have different needs, and you need to take care of your needs, and you need to make sure that you're serving other people's needs to a certain extent within your family and what they need, but you don't have to live your life for them, even your children. And you should not feel guilty about them. And if you do begin to feel guilty about them for something that you're doing to take care of yourself, you need to speak with somebody about it. You need to speak to the person about it. You need to understand what you can do to absolve yourself of that guilt, because at that point, it's not healthy. It's not helping anyone, and you might as well just not even do it. So again, that's why I kind of say, where I don't feel, that this carving time out for yourself or self-care is like, hey, I'm going to go like to the bar and watch some football games with my buddies. To me, that's not the move. I know that everyone's different. I just said it's not one size fits all, but I think that there's more productive ways that you can detach and take care of yourself that have like health benefits, more so than that. And I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone with that. That's just my opinion on the matter. And luckily, this is my podcast, so I get to say it. But yeah, that's how I feel about that, right? That I've just seen so many people feel guilty for going and doing things that are important to them because they're going to miss out on one thing, or they can't do something else. When at the end of the day, you're doing the best that you can to balance all of that, and not everyone's the same. Not everyone needs the same things, requires the same things. So you're doing what's right for you. At the end of the day, this is all a process, and it's not a short-term process. This is a lifelong process, and it changes, right? My anxiety for when I was 17 is much different than my anxiety when I'm 38. Different things make me anxious. I cope with it differently. I have more tools in my life now, but I have more weight on my shoulders. Um, it changes from day to day. There's things that bother me one day that might not bother me the next day for no real rhyme or reason. It could have been just that I was hungry that day, or that something else was bothering me or making me anxious, and this rubbed off onto that. So you have to realize that this is a really long game. That there are no answers, and that what works for you today may not work for you tomorrow, and for your family and your friends and everyone, your coworkers and your employees and everyone else you are involved with. That it's like, this may not be something that you can solve in a linear fashion. Um, it's a lot of trial and error. What works for you today may not work for you tomorrow. So just make sure that you constantly are gauging it and inventorying how you're feeling. Again, I know that this time of year creates more anxiety and stress for me than other times of the year. So I'm going into it being proactive rather than trying to deal with it once it hits me in the middle of, between Christmas and New Year's, or once it's already behind me. Hey, what could I have done differently? Like, I'm trying to be proactive about it and recognize that, hey, soon I will be feeling this way. These are all the these are all the indicators that I will feel anxious soon. I will feel stressed out soon. So I'm trying to really nip that in the butt. It's just about creating a balance in your life. And that balance doesn't mean 50-50, right? Where it's like, how can you balance work and how can you balance family and life? Like, what, it may not be 50-50. You just have to find how you can suit and serve your own needs while also doing the best to suit and serve others' needs. It may be 50-50, it may be 75-25, it could be 90-10 in either direction. You have to get by with enough that you feel fulfilled, um, and you feel that you are being the best version of yourself while also serving the needs of the people who you are obligated and responsible for serving the needs of, like your children, your wife, your family, your clients, and your friends. And a balance doesn't have to be the same every single day, right? Like, that scale can tip one way or the other. You have to look big picture. Am I good? Am I healthy? Am I taking care of myself? Am I taking care of my clients? Am I taking care of my kids? One day you may have 0% self-care and it's 100% to everyone else. That doesn't mean that the next day has to be the same and the next day has to be the same. Again, you have to look at the average of this, look out the big picture. Start small. You don't have to make massive changes within your life right off the bat. This entire process is a journey, and not a destination. And I realized that I need things outside of my work life, my clients to feel fulfilled, to feel as though I'm a good person. And when my time comes, I spoke to my uncle about this. Like, I want people to remember me for who I am, how I treated them, that I put time aside for them, that I was a good person and I was willing to answer their questions or help them or give them any sort of insight, that I was kind to them more so than I was a talented carpenter or I was a skilled contractor or I had a successful business. To me, those things just, I put all of my weight in that defining who I was and making me happy. And I didn't realize that, like, those aren't the things that actually make me happy. And they could quite literally make me miserable if I put all of my eggs in that basket. So I need to diversify myself and my time, and how many eggs I was willing to put in each basket. And through those few things, like eating better, consistently exercising, trying to get some sleep, finding hobbies, self-care routine, those type of things have really helped me deal with a lot of my stress, a lot of my anxiety, and be proactive with dealing with it rather than once you get in it and you look up and the hits just keep coming and you're crawling and you're climbing and you can't get out of it. And it's like you're just treading water and it becomes really difficult at that point and very overwhelming. So trying to nip it in the butt and be proactive in dealing with this. All right, everyone. I hope that you enjoyed today's podcast. Less business related, more so mental health, well-being. Again, this is coming up on a difficult time for myself, and I'm sure for a lot of people. So just being aware of that and having a little bit of self-realization as far as how I feel and everything else. Hopefully those words connect with you and resonate with you as well. And I appreciate everyone being here. I will catch you next week. Adios.